And then eventually when I turned 15, because I was also raised Catholic, French Catholic, and I remember being very little and enjoying going to church. But then as I got older, it just did not feel the same way. It just did
Yeah.
not feel the same way at all. But I remember my mom wanting to get me ready for my confirmation. And I just told her, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it.
Did you not do
And
it, or did you, like, do it because she made you, or you just
no, I
didn't
didn't
do
do
it?
it at all. I didn't
That's
want to
actually,
do it.
I think that's, like, perfect, though, because if you ever decided it's like you I don't think, as a Catholic, I don't think that you should get confirmed as a teenager. If I were to make the timeline of the way the church would do it, you would get communion probably older than 8. I feel like it's a little young to still not understand really the true part of it, but I think that most people, they do their 3 sacraments and then they leave the church, in their adolescence. I think that being confirmed as an adult would kind of be like when you're ready to come back. And a lot of times it obviously happens when you get married and you have kids and then you want them to have the experience and all of that. But I feel like being able to, as an adult, have a sacrament where you got to make the decision, I think is really like, my son is 14 years old and he hasn't gotten communion or confirmation. And I'm a
Oh,
hardcore Catholic,
interesting.
but because I'm not going to
Mhm.
force him to
Yeah.
do something it's not in his heart. I'm not gonna just do it because, "Oh, you're just supposed to do it." I want it to be his decision. My daughter, on the other hand, 5 years old, she can't wait. She is like, "When do I get to do this?" If we watch Passion of the Christ, she cries even when she
Mm,
doesn't even watch the end. Like, she only gets to the before part of before they even beat him. She cries because they laugh at him, you
yeah.
know, and they're calling him a witch, like, that whole thing. So,
Yeah.
like, she's very empathic in that sense, but I think it's kinda nice that you haven't got confirmed because you could always do it anytime as an adult, and I think it would be more special
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean,
ever decide to do it.
if I ever decided to, but I remember, and this is, I think, a big problem, and this is definitely like a good opportunity to bring up this problem is that, when you're raised in a family and it's like, it's just what you do, right? Like,
Right.
it's just what you do. And that's basically like what happened was this is just what you do. I was like, but I don't understand why I have, like, why? Tell me why. And it was
Yeah.
like, because you need to get confirmed. But why? Why do I need a priest to confirm me? I don't need a man to dictate what my relationship is with my God, with my divinity, with Christ, with anything
And
like
I don't
that.
think but and that's where I will challenge is I don't think that it's a confirmation with the church or a confirmation with the priest, and I think that that's the problem is that it's what it's become. It should be a confirmation with you with Christ, and I don't think
Yes.
maybe at 15 you are, and you are like, "Listen, like, I'm Catholic, and I am unapologetically Catholic, and that is it," then you do it, but I think this whole thing is it's just what you do is why there's not more why there's, I guess, an issue
There's
overall with it.
there's so much hypocrisy around it, because it was like, no, it's just what you do. And I'm like, but that's not a good enough reason for me to do
Yeah.
anything.
And the
Like I'm
church
not,
knows that this happens too, because I mean,
yeah,
even when I've done, well, it was when I got it, it was RCIA. Now I think it's like RCIO. And, obviously I have family members who just do it because that's just what you do. They know it happens. And I think the church and priests and deacons specifically they don't love it that people just do it. They really want them to really take it in and do it for themselves and do it for Christ. Um,
right,
and I
right.
actually been
And
happy, like, when I was younger, I was very not happy I didn't do my sacraments because I was like, everyone does them. Why am I not doing them? But at the same time, I feel like now I get to actually I got to do it for me. I didn't do it for the church. I did it for
yeah.
Jesus, Mary, all of the, saints.
Oh,
I had this
yeah.
beautiful woman who sung this liturgy of the saints that I tell my husband, I don't know what you have to do, but if something happens and I die and this woman's still alive, I want her to do the liturgy of the saints. I want her to sing it exactly the way she sang it during my sacraments. For some reason, I got very lucky the year I did my sacraments. I was the only convert, which I've been to many Easter masses since, and there's always 10, 20. This past year was 40 people. So
Oh,
I look
wow.
back and I'm like, for me to have a year where I was literally the only one, because this was in the lull of where Catholic churches were closing, I realized how like I'm very blessed that I was being able to really just being mine, and I never
Yeah,
had
that
to
is
share
really
with anybody.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, it was like a threat that if you don't do this, then you don't get to get married in the church and the church isn't going to acknowledge you anymore. And like it was my mom threatened me. People threatened, and I don't want to
Yeah.
make it about like my mom, but it was like this very pressurizing thing. And it was like, well, if you don't do this, then you're not going to get married in the church. And if you don't do that, then da 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 da. And I at 15 years old, I was like, I don't care. First of all, I got married at 21 years old on a beach in St. Thomas, like, and I was that to me was my church that day. Um, but I also had a lot of curiosity about other things because I've always had curiosity about other things. Like I can tell you that I was very devout in my prayers. I loved making my first communion. I was so devout in saying like my Our Father, my Hail Mary, my Glory Be, like every night before I went to bed by myself. I swear to God, like I
Yeah.
loved it. It was like my own like sacred time to just pray and be grateful. And I loved that. But there was also like other things that I was very curious about. I started getting very curious about astrology at 13. And then at 15, right around the same time that my mom's like, you gotta make your confirmation, I spent a lot of time in bookstores and libraries and I discovered a book about chakras. And that
You're
book
like that
changed
was like, "Oh
everything.
god."
That book changed everything.
Your
Tasha,
mom is probably like,
I
"Oh
still
my
have the
god."
book. I have the book still. And I gave it to my oldest daughter when she turned 13 because that's when she was getting curious about stuff because she had been raised on astrology and chakras and all of these things. And so when she was 13, I was like, this was my first book. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you still have it. And I was like, if you're curious, please read it because it changed the course of my life. And it wasn't that I didn't believe in Christ. It wasn't that I didn't believe in his message, his teachings, his light, his love, everything that he represented. It's that I was also curious that there's these other places in the world that have practices. There's these other places in the world that predate Christianity. There's these other places in the world that have civilization and culture and spiritual paths. And I want to know about that. I want to
Yeah.
know what their beliefs are. I want to know where they originate from. It can't just be like, this is the only way. So you're saying that this is the only way, and everybody else who doesn't believe this way, all of these other people are going to hell. Like
Yeah.
that was my moment at that age was like,
And it's so
you're
crazy because I
basically
think in
telling
recent
me.
times that has completely, I feel like, done a 180 where now, I mean, it's my personal belief. And I'm biased because I love my faith, is now I feel like it's the evangelical and mostly Protestant that is very fire and brimstone, and you're gonna go to hell if you don't do this, and if you even mess with this kind of thing, and even being Catholic is horrible because you shouldn't be doing incense and you shouldn't be lighting candles and you shouldn't have saints statues in your house, and like the whole like ideology, idolatry and stuff. And so I think it's interesting because now it feels like such a wave, and you see that wave changing because people are coming to the Catholic Church. So like it's just, at an all-time high of converts.